Cost of living crisis, the true cost. Who we are. The Surrey Coalition of Disabled People is run and managed by disabled people for disabled people. The aim of the Surrey Coalition is to campaign and promote the rights of disabled people to have equality of opportunity and to live independently. We feel it is vital that disability is on everybody's agenda when decisions are being made. Tough times ahead. The Coalition has been gathering feedback from disabled people across Surrey about how the current cost of living crisis is impacting them. The results paint a bleak picture. Surrey Coalition of Disabled People members told us 97% said the cost of living had impacted them. 76% had not turned their heating on. 45% had gone without food. 43% no longer able to meet additional costs for a disabled person. Here's what our members told us. I use a CPAP machine and this is plugged in constantly. I cannot find any information on how much the cost of electric is for this. I have a heated blanket for my bed. I know this is not cheap to run, but I have no choice. If I get too cold, my joints seize up, including my back. I cannot afford to put fuel in the car, and my disability makes it hard to get to a bus stop. The food vouchers you sent me were a lifeline. Now sadly all used up. For a double amputee with renal failure, they were great. Although I have changed my diet and eat foods that are cheaper to heat, I have not drunk hot drinks at home this year due to the cost of boiling a kettle. I never asked to borrow money. I have my pride, but a parish priest in Woking gave me £50. It was an embarrassment, but I took it. Later I cried in my car. I'm not able to access things like warm banks because I struggle to sit upright for long and would be in excruciating pain. I can't use food banks because I can't be jumping through the hoops required to access them. Even with my car, I only drive for groceries or medical/health related reasons. Scared to go out if I won't be back by 3 p.m. because I'll lose the closest parking space and I don't have the electric wheelchair I need because I can't manually prepare. I basically stay in bed 90 to 95% of the time now as I can barely stand or walk for more than a few minutes, even inside my home. I can't see a way out of this and my life isn't worth living anymore. Here's what our members told us. I spend most of the day in bed as I have an electric blanket. I'm also living on toast and porridge so that I can pay all my bills without getting into debt. I worry about using my CPAP machine all night because of the cost, so have started only using it half the night. I cannot afford the money for extra care I need, so I can only have 2 hours a week. Things that are having the most financial impact include bills, brackets, electricity, gas and fuel, food, care costs, transport. 62% of people have not made use of community fridges, warm hubs and food banks. 35% have borrowed money to pay bills. Here's what our members told us. Sense of hopelessness feels out of control. No matter what you do, no end in sight. Hope seems a long way away. Try to remain positive, but underneath, what is the point? I had the heating up at first, but my home has some mould and lots of condensation. I was told to heat my home to reduce mould/condensation, but this is the cost I had tried to avoid. Had cold showers until the 8th to 12th, as it costs half the amount of a hot one. We will run out of life savings at some stage and not sure what to do after that. Discuss selling our house and renting after that. How our members are trying to save money. Using libraries as warm spaces to work or spend time in. Wearing more clothes, blankets, scarves, etc. in the house. Turning off electrical appliances not needed at night. Only heating the water that they need in the kettle or boiling enough water for a flask and using that throughout the day. Use off-peak power for washing machines and dishwashers. Using an air fryer, changing light bulbs to energy-saving ones, choosing clothes that are quick drying, descale your kettle so that it works more efficiently, exercising, brackets where possible, to keep warm, using a microwave instead of a cooker because it's cheaper, turning off the internet during the day. Members told us how we can help, providing information and signposting, campaigning, providing direct funding, providing technical support, devices and training, develop partnerships with other organisations, education. Members told us how we can help. In addition, 3 wider areas of concern also came across strongly in the feedback, and although they are probably not issues we can tackle as part of our cost of living crisis response, we should consider how we address them in due course. Transport, increasing care costs, issues around the accessibility of technology, e.g. smart meters not being accessible to the visually impaired. The national picture, the Costly Differences Report. The Costly Differences Report, published by the Resolution Foundation on 4th January 2023, found that disabled people are more vulnerable to rising costs of essentials because energy and food make up a greater share of their budgets, on average, than for the non-disabled, in part because of the additional needs caused by underlying health problems. The Costly Differences Report, Disposable Income Gap. The underlying disposable income gap between the disabled (19,319) and non-disabled population (27,766) was 44% in 2020 to 2021, down from 54% a decade ago, but still hugely significant. People with a disability are far more likely to be poor than the rest of the population. 1 in 3, 33% of adults in the lowest household income decile have a disability compared to fewer than 1 in 10, 9% of adults in the highest household income decile. The Costly Differences Report. Even after accounting for employment status, over half of the original income gap remains, showing that in-work disabled people face an increased risk of being on lower incomes too. People with a disability are almost 3 times as likely to live in marital deprivation than the rest of the population, 34% versus 13%. The Costly Differences Report. Around 2/5 of people with a disability, 41%, said they couldn't afford to keep their homes warm, compared to under 1/5, 23% of the non-disabled population. Almost 1 in 3, 31% of people with a disability say they have had to reduce their expenditures on food compared to 18% of the non-disabled population. The full report, which includes recommendations, can be found here: www.resolutionfoundation.org/publications/costly-differences/. The national picture, the scope report. 51% of disabled people are concerned about affording the rising cost of food over the next few months. 57% of disabled people say their income does not or only just covers their bills. 71% of disabled people who need to use more heating because of their long-term condition or impairment are concerned that they will not be able to heat their home this winter. The national picture, the scope report. 50% of disabled people say they will struggle financially this winter, unable to afford essentials. 52% of disabled people say that increasing costs are negatively affecting their mental health. 9% said that going without heating could put their lives at risk. 40% said that going without heating could cause them to be uncomfortable or in pain. The national picture of the scope report. They heard from disabled people who are only heating one room, only eating one meal a day, only watching TV for an hour, 48% plan on skipping meals, 22% will not be able to afford food due to dietary needs such as gluten-free. The full report, along with their recommendations, can be found here: www.scope.org.uk/campaigns/research-policy/cost of living report. 31% said it would severely affect their health. Recommendations. Recognise that disabled people have been impacted the most by the cost of living crisis. Provide more funding, such as household support funding for disabled people in need. Campaign against the forced introduction of period payment meters. Ensure all energy providers have accessible contacts so disabled people can talk to them if they are struggling. Ensure all warm hubs are accessible and publicise their locations as widely as possible. Make it easier to access food banks, less bureaucratic referral, assist with the recruitment of volunteers who can deliver food from food banks to those unable to leave their homes, publicise the location of community fridges. Get in touch. Involvement at surreycoalition.org.uk. Telephone 01483 456 558. Text 077 80 933 053. To visit our website, go to surreycoalition.org.uk. This report is based on 63 respondents to a survey distributed by Surrey Coalition of Disabled People.